Welcome to the Electric Vibe podcast. It's been a minute, folks. It's great to be back. I am one of three co-hosts. My name is Kurt Hoffman. To my right, on my computer screen anyway, is none other.
I am J. David Silva. You know, you all can call me the Electric Man. Kurt, how are you?
Good, man. Good. It's and our guest Eric Rogers. We'll give you the big fancy introduction here in a minute. But thanks for coming on and spending your time with us. So, Jay, we also want to send out a shout out to Hucky. Hucky has been extremely busy with work projects, presentations, and what have you. You know, we all have these 9-to-5 jobs, and Hucky's no exception. And he's had to put some overtime in and some extra elbow grease, but he sends his best to everybody. And right. We'll have him back on as soon as possible. With the summertime. You think the summertime's slow, and it's anything. Our guest today can attest to that.
That's right.
So I got to spend some time with Hucky Thursday night. He's looking good. He's doing well.
Yeah, good.
Nice.
Yes. So
well, let me break it down for everybody. I'm just going to throw it out there because who we have with us tonight is a friend of the Electric Vibe podcast, a good friend at the Electric Vibe podcast. We are fortunate enough to have this gentleman join us for a previous episode with the great Damon Dixon a couple of months ago. And we wanted to invite the wonderful Eric Rogers back. He is the creator, the curator of the Paisley Five and Dime. He is also an accomplished and successful disc jockey, and he is the secretary of the Minneapolis Sound Museum and a good friend of ours. He keeps it real every time. We are happy to have Eric Rogers joining us in studio. Eric, how are you?
I'm doing wonderful, guys, and thanks for having me. It's a pleasure to be back, and I'm ready to get this thing rolling. It's been a super busy week leading up to this.
And we can imagine we're going to talk about all kinds of good stuff that you have going on. And the main thing that we want to talk about and help you to promote is an event that you're doing in Kentucky next month, August 22nd, 3rd, and 24th, to celebrate the, believe it or not, folks, 35th anniversary of Prince's Graffiti Bridge projects. We're talking about the movie, the soundtrack, everything associated with it. And Eric, we wanted to give you an opportunity to talk about the event. We've got a bunch of questions we want to ask you. But first off is, why don't you just break down what the event is, what people can expect? And I know you have some surprises that you may not be able to talk about, but that's okay. We'll tease them anyway.
Yeah, we won't go into all the surprises, but it is a 3-day event, and it will be all 3 days and very full days. Starting Friday, probably about 5 p.m. when everyone can start rolling in. We're going to go Friday evening until about 1 or 2 a.m. All day Saturday, starting at about 10 a.m. We're going to go until about 2 a.m. And then on Sunday, we're going to start back up about 10 or 11 a.m. and go until about 6 p.m. So we are talking 5 p.m. Friday until 6 p.m. Sunday, and it will be packed. You will not be bored. You will be very tired and very exhausted.
But satisfied.
Very satisfied. You will be very, very, very purple.
So, you know, that brings up my next question, Eric. Because with the 35th anniversary of Graffiti Bridge and everything that you're trying to do, you've put on events before. Can you take us through your timeline of when you started and kind of the evolution of you promoting events has become up to this point?
Absolutely. And I'll make it very abbreviated because telling the full story would take 3 more podcasts. But we'll abbreviate it. I first started this in 2015 doing events, and my first guest I ever brought in at my very first event was Des Dickerson. And that was very nice. Des was very candid. He was very straightforward. He brought some of his books. He brought some CDs. He took photos. He autographed everything. He did a wide open Q&A. And that's one of the things that we do. We do not film our events because most of the time when artists are filmed, they feel restrained to answer things perfectly. We do not film these. We want it to be intimate. We want it to be like this, like we're friends talking. Yeah. That way it's not on record. It doesn't have to be the perfect answer that still holds up 20 years from now, you know?
Right.
So it's very candid, and you get some very real stories that you wouldn't get any other way. So our second guest in 2016 was Stephen Park. And this was just before he got his book deal. And I wanted him to come in. He did a photo class. So the beginning of the event for photographers that in the area were invited to come in and participate in a photo clinic. Bring your camera, ask questions about your camera. Steve Park could answer your questions. And we had dozens of photographers that showed up just for that part of it. So he was able to like take your camera, teach you things about your camera you didn't even know. And then we went into the event. Our third year was 2017, and it happened to fall on the 25th anniversary Sign of the Times. So we brought in Dr. Susan Rogers, and that was amazing. Dr. Rogers answered all the questions all night. She stayed around, signed every book, album that anyone wanted her to sign. She took photos with everyone, and her Q&A was 3 hours. Like, she went into stories. The depth was just absolutely incredible. So Susan Rogers, then we had Owen Husney, and it just so happened to coincide. It was 2018, and it was the 40th anniversary of For You.
Sure.
So we brought in, if it's 40th anniversary of For You, you can't get Prince, obviously. It's 2018. So the only other person that can really speak to For You, Owen Husney.
Sure.
He's the one that got the deal that started all this. And so I've tried to every year make it somehow tied to, what we fans, we know what these celebrations are. We know that these milestones really mean something. So Owen Husney, we also brought in Maite. That was her second visit. Now, I did not know it at the time, but Owen Husney had never met Maite, and vice versa. So they actually got to meet at my event. So that was really great. And we also brought in Kababi Bayak, who was the artist of the Rainbow Children album cover.
Cool.
And then, after Owen, 2019 blew my mind. We were able to bring in Bobby Z.
Yes. Bobby
Z, who talks to no fan events. He doesn't do fan events. It's not a thing. The only reason he called me and did it was because Bobby and his wife and me and my wife had become friends, and Bobby and Vicky actually came to mine and my wife's wedding. So since he came to some of the events that I did in Minneapolis, and then Owen, who is great friends with Bobby, said, "You need to go to Kentucky." That was a blast. So Bobby calls me and he said, "Hey, is the invitation still up?" No, and it absolutely is.
Yes.
Wow.
So that led to Bobby Z coming. And then the following year, we had Tommy Barbarella lined up, and it was the 25th anniversary of Gold. But then COVID hit.
Yeah.
So we weren't able to get Tommy Barbarella due to COVID. But what we did is we rented out a 300-seat theater, and we only sold 30. And that way everyone had social distancing. And we put a bunch of Gold Tour artifacts all over the stage, and people were able to come in, and we broadcast on the big screen in the theater and did a live Q&A like this, like a podcast with every member of the Gold Tour band.
Wow.
So we got Tommy Barbarella on camera, and everyone was able to do a Q&A. Michael Bland, Maite, Morris Hayes. Who else was in there? Sonny. So yeah, that's everything. And we did a live news or a live podcast feed on the big screen, and people were able to do a Q&A, social distancing with the entire Gold Experience band.
Wow.
So
and
that
recently
was.
I was just going to say, recently going to Celebration this year for Jay and I officially for the first time, and this is not obviously your first time, but having seen that archive Gold Experience show at Wembley, what was the first show that they did in Wembley?
Opening night.
Holy cow, boy! I tell you what, if you had done that, if I had watched that show back then and gone to your event, all the questions I would have about how the hell they survived,
the precision.
I'm sure that was brought up. I'm sure that had to.
Yeah, it was mind blowing. I never got to see the tour all the way through. The only thing I've ever been able to catch was the few circulating bootleg videos that are out there. Yeah. I've acquired as many of them as I can, but it doesn't do justice to what Paisley Park showed on the big screen. That was incredible.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then, when we got back into it after COVID, we did an event with Damon Dixon, and we built a 3-day event around him. And then after Damon, we just brought in Dr. Fink, Matt Fink, did a 3-day event with him. Then now, just about 4 months later, 4 months after Dr. Fink, we're doing the Graffiti Bridge 35th anniversary celebration with Ingrid Chavez and TC Ellis and Damon Dixon, and I have some other surprises that I can't disclose right now.
Ooh, nice.
But there will be some very interesting surprises. There are 3 different tier levels, depending on what access and experiences you want. Tier 1 is the most expensive one. All those are gone. They're all sold out. I've been asked by people, why don't you make more of those? Because if you make more of those, their argument is if you do more of those, that's more money. It pays for a bigger event. And I was like, you're defeating the purpose of the events that I do. I keep them small for a reason, because I want the people to come to have a very close one-on-one experience. You know, Kurt, David, going to Paisley Park, celebration is a great experience. You got the panels, you got the people up there doing the discussion panels. It's very informative, but it's not personal.
Right. It's not that intimate.
This experience is personal. You get sit-down time. You get to ask your questions. We don't have a moderated panel. It is completely fan-driven Q&A. Completely. So the fans are able to ask anything and everything that they want.
Eric, let me ask a question about that, if I can. That level of interaction that you offer with the attendees, you must have gotten some great feedback about that type of experience, right? Can you talk a little bit about what people appreciate most?
A lot of people don't have that level of access to not only celebrities, but their favorite celebrities that are in the Minneapolis music. I have a very blessed life as far as my accessibility to the bands and the members. My 14-year-old self has little cardiac problems all the time because I get calls and I see my hero's name on my phone and they're calling me, and it, just blows my mind. It's very nice. But what I wanted to do is, I know that people in, the central eastern region of the United States, a lot of them don't travel them. So, and the reason I say central eastern region is from the Mississippi to the Atlantic, Kentucky is halfway. It's right there. From Minnesota to Florida, Kentucky is halfway. From Texas to Maine, Kentucky is halfway. So this is the central point for the entire eastern region of the United States. And so nobody, no matter how far you are or where you are on the eastern side of the United States, everything is under a 12-hour jump, everything. But for the last event that we just did, we had 17 states represented. We had 2 people from Canada and we had 1 from Germany. So they are still intimate, but the people who show up are from everywhere. And we have one of our sellers that's going to be there this year is someone that all the collectors are now getting to know by name, is Alexander Sam. He is from Germany originally, and he lives in Florida. And he was really like, I don't know. I'm not really driven by celebrities and stuff like that. I don't know. And I said, but look, I've came to Florida and I've done 3 sales for you. Come up and just go to one of these events. So I twisted his arm and he goes, okay, I'll come. And he went to the Dr. Fink event. He bought the tier 1 VIP ticket. And after the 3rd day, he said, this was amazing. He goes, I'm very mad that I missed the other ones now. And so Alex is going to be there again this time, and he is actually going to be one of the sellers. So that brings me to this point I want to make. This event is going to be different because we are doing an entire room at the hotel ballrooms. There will be 15 tables with vendors setting up, selling French merch. Wow. Anything and everything you could imagine. There's going to be albums, tapes, CDs, posters, T-shirts, you name it. It's going to be there. 15 tables full. So yeah, there's going to be some selection. There's going to, if you're trying to find it, you will find it. If you're a collector, it's there. So you're getting this full experience, not only as a fan, but also as a collector. And you'll get to see things that even if you don't buy it, you'll get to at least see it, put your hands on it, and know that it exists.
Wow. Can I ask a question of you, Kurt? When you and I went to Celebration,
Yes.
And obviously, we have a relation. We went to Fort Wayne. That's where we first finally met Eric in person. We met a lot of people. There's a lot of people that we met when we were at Celebration at some of the events that are actually going to this event, the Graffiti Bridge 35th anniversary. Talk about the relationships that we've started to build with people since we met them and how they're all kind of coming together from your perspective before I ask Eric the exact same question.
Okay. Well, obviously, and we have not reached out yet. There was a couple that was on the flight from Philly to Minneapolis, Donna and Vince, and they're in Bluebell, which for where I live in, ready? Conshohocken. Everybody ready?
Conshohocken.
Okay. Anyway, nobody can say it. Even the natives can't say it here. They say Conchi. So they're like 17, 20 minutes away. And, we talked and formed a fast friendship along the way, to and from the show. Suzanne and Glenn.
Absolutely. Yep.
Yeah, they're a lot of fun.
We have Chrissy, obviously.
Well, Chrissy. Yeah. And we met Chrissy through doing Fort Wayne with you, Eric. And now we've seen, God, I think we saw Chrissy for the majority of the
during
celebration
in Minnesota, right?
All the events directly tied in, and the ones that weren't, the ones the outside ones, the green room for Martin Kemmer in the unit and Michael Holtz DJing. I mean, yeah, a bunch of events.
So isn't that cool how we've had those relationships, those relationships, and now
when you're with your tribe, when you're with like-minded people, when you're with your tribe, there's an immediacy right there. Like you get all the inside geek references and this, that, and other thing, but not just about Prince. There are certain things that just people that just connected on an immediate level. But when you meet your tribe, it's pretty cool.
Can I tell a quick story since we're talking about relationships and meeting people? We're standing in line at Paisley Park the first day that we went. And
I know what you're going to
Kurt's standing behind me and I'm looking, ahead. And all of a sudden I hear Kurt talking to two gentlemen that were standing behind us and he's speaking fluent French with them. I said, wait a minute. I didn't know that you spoke French. Did you speak Russian as well? Some Italian? And he was having this conversation with them, talking about Prince, forming that relationship. And internationally, right. And so I'm very, very blessed and fortunate to see that, first of all, in real time, but then to hear the people online, Eric, talking about they're going to be in Kentucky. They're coming to this event. A lot of the people that we met when we were there. So that's got to be important to you as well.
It is. It's very nice that the impact has reached so far. And it really started as a way to kind of bring some of that energy here, but it's really kind of grown into something that people far and wide all want to get some of that really personal connection. I had somebody say, oh, I really didn't much want to come to some events because, the people that you've had there before, I've already met them. And then I think the one that we just did with Dr. Fink, they were like, oh, well, I've already met Dr. Fink. I've gotten his autograph. But, I thought 3 days, that sounds like fun. It's a really inexpensive ticket for 3 days. So they were like, let me go ahead and do it. And they were like, okay, when I met him, I got his autograph before. That was all nice, but it wasn't like this. Like this was deep dive, really kind of going in. You get the stories that you just don't get any other place. And just case in point, when Dr. Rogers was here in 2017, this was where the story broke. No one had ever heard it before about Nothing Compares to You and who it was about. Do you know who it was about now?
I've heard the rumors.
About his housekeeper.
Is it really?
Nothing Compares to You. He wrote it about his housekeeper that lived in his house, took care of his house, took care of him, grocery shopping and all the good stuff like that, had to go take care of a family member. I think it was her father. And as he was gone, or as she was gone, Susan was still coming over to the house and recording every day with him. And every day he would just be like, when's she coming back? That's all right, Prince. She's taking care of her dad. She'll be here. We don't really have a day, blah, blah, blah. And, is there anything I can get for you? Yeah, I'm out of Sunny D. I need some Sunny D. She's like, okay, Prince, I'll get you some Sunny D. And, keep him moving. But it's just that every day it was almost like his shoulders sunk a little lower. And then shortly after that, he came into the studio with Nothing Compares to You. And she goes, the line in there, all the flowers that you planted in the backyard all died when you went away. She goes, he had talked to me about the flowers that, the flowers are dying. Somebody needs to water them. So it was just all these things. And I guess when you have someone living under you all the time, and then suddenly they're not there, you realize maybe just kind of how, not intentionally, but just through ease of convenience, maybe you take advantage of that a little bit. And so I know that living with me was sometimes hard.
There it is, right?
That was some retrospective, like, man, you know, I didn't realize just how bad I would miss her until she wasn't here. So he takes this feeling from not having that convenience of company and convenience every day and spins that into a lover point of view and writes this amazing song off of it. But that story had never been told until our event. And then
Your attendees got it.
Okay.
Right?
Wow.
Once she told it there, now she has shared that at a few other events, but it broke at our event. So, and a bunch of other stories. Like, there's been so many stories that the only time I've ever heard it was at these events, but there's so many now that I can't even think of them all.
Well, it's a shame we don't have Hucky here to talk about the Sinead O'Connor stories that he has.
Right.
The aftermath of stories we can tell on the air, stories we can't tell
on the air. Right.
Versus, yeah.
I know those stories, and no.
Yes.
No, we can't.
Nope. But so Graffiti Bridge, 35 years.
35 years.
It's old enough to have had relationships, regrets, a divorce, kids. It's buying their first house.
Right.
It's crazy to think about that. And just recently, I think about Graffiti Bridge because Funkatopia's podcast, they just what was the song on the Sheila E. album? Shortberry Straw Cake.
Yeah.
There's a guitar solo and there's backing. There's backwards speech vocals in
Backmasking.
it. Yeah, backmasking. And he had isolated the stems on that. And he said, there was a reference to Graffiti Bridge. Literally, you can hear him say something about, I want to I'm going to get to Graffiti Bridge. And you're like, Jesus Christ, this is 5 years prior to the movie even coming up. And here he is he's already got that somewhere in the back of his mind. But what does the movie mean to you and the legacy of Graffiti Bridge mean to you, Eric? It's an interesting album because to me, it's a hodgepodge of so many leftover tracks and stuff that he'd never used. Out of all the albums that he did, this was a recycled album. I mean, it had a lot of tracks left over.
For all practical purposes, Graffiti Bridge film and movie is supposed to be it's supposed to be a Purple Rain Part 2.
Right.
The characters in the movie translated over. What's interesting is the soundtrack is 1999 Part 2. Because if you look at most of the tracks, Tick Tick Bang was from the 1999 sessions. Bold Generation, Can't Stop This Feeling I Got. Those were all from the 1999 sessions. So it was basically, and even Weekend Funk was taken from the late 1999, early Purple Rain sessions. So everything was kind of recycled back from the 1999 era, because the 1999 era was when he was writing the stuff for Purple Rain. So what would make sense if you're doing a Purple Rain movie, Part 2, go back and get some of that energy to bring it forward. And that's what he did. There were a few new ones in there that were not really present around 1999, but they did start surfacing post Purple Rain, like on the tour and stuff, like Question of You. Question of You started kind of coming about through the Purple Rain tours and rehearsals. So a lot of that stuff came from earlier sessions. Now you also have the 1999 tour kind of replaying itself, because you've got The Kid, Prince, and The Time. And since you don't have Vanity, you have the new love interest that is Ingrid or Jill being the Vanity. So the female counterpart to the Triple Threat tour. So there's a whole lot of dynamics if you're paying attention, like with the motorcycle is a repeat. So yeah, and the ballad that wins the day, the same thing from Purple Rain, the ballad wins the day. There's a lot of parallels. So as a Purple Rain Part 2, yes, it is quasi Purple Rain Part 2. What it means to me to make this comeback circle really huge. It was a very special time for me because it was 1990. I was born in 70, so this was my 20 year. I was really excited to see what he was going to do next. And the Nude Tour kind of took everything I loved about the Love Sexy tour, the complex albums, the multi-tracks. You know, he finally had the freedom of Paisley Park to record, you know, so many tracks that Love Sexy almost feels to some like it's overproduced. To me, it's a masterpiece, and to many, it's a masterpiece. But there are some who will say just because you have 48 tracks don't mean you need 48 tracks.
Use them all. Right.
Prince did not believe that. Bring me back to a story here in a moment, Kurt. Tell me to circle back to the Love Sexy 48 tracks. But to go from Love Sexy 48 tracks to the next album that really kind of comes out, because Batman was a soundtrack, so it doesn't really, it is a Prince album, but it's not really on the same line. So to follow that with the Nude Tour, which was stripped down, it was not everything that Love Sexy Tour was. The Nude Tour was the antithesis. It was not promoting an album. It was a hits tour with a couple new songs. So it was quite the antithesis. So watching that really kind of get stripped back and that new direction, plus, you know, the new band, the Nude Tour was the creation of the New Power Generation as a band, as a band name. So it was this whole interesting cycle to watch. There's so many things about that were pivotal for him at the time. And I'm glad he went through the experience. A lot of people say, you know, it was a poor album. It was a poor movie. Well, first off, there's no such thing as a poor art creation. It's an artistic creation. It's what he wanted to do at the time. He released it. That's his masterpiece. If you don't like the songs, go listen to another one. But it is a completed piece of art in his catalog. We're just giving it the respect from that. It is a completed piece of art that he liked, he released. Whether you share his vision or not, it's not important. It was his vision. He shared it with you. You don't have to like it. He himself said, what we're doing with the movie Graffiti Bridge, most people are not even going to understand it for 30 years.
Right. I remember the quote. Yep.
Yeah.
And I have to say, for the 30 years after it, I probably didn't watch it maybe 10 times. And I've really given it a lot of attention in the last 5 years, the soundtrack especially. The soundtrack, if you go through and make yourself a CD, yeah, we're old school. Make yourself a CD mixtape of Graffiti Bridge, but take out the time, take out Tevin, take out Mavis. Take those out, make a Prince album. And then listen to that straight through and tell me that's not a strong ass album.
That's a great point. That is a fantastic point. Just from the sheer breadth of, again, different styles, akin to, say, Sign of the Times, right? Because you've got what I think is a masterpiece in Joy and Repetition, right? You've got some straight up funk. You know, you want to talk about weekend funk. You've got some quasi pop, you know, a little bit of Elephant and Flowers with some funk mixed in. So just the things that he was able to do on that album takes away, at least for me, a lot of the quote unquote negativity, which is opinion based about the movie and about the whole project. Because to that point, if you take out all those other tracks, tell me that's not a hell of a strong Prince album. Absolutely.
It's now not and being the sequel to Purple Rain of sorts, and no longer being Prince and the Revolution. Now he doesn't really say Prince and then that New Power Generation on the album itself, but we are the New Power Generation. I mean, kind of answers that, but
right.
But I think it kind of makes up for the fact that the Purple Rain soundtrack did include all the songs that were in the movie. Modern Air, for instance.
Right.
Daz Dickerson, right?
Exactly. So how many times did you hear between 1984 and 1990? How many times, and I know you heard it because I heard it a billion times as a fan, and I thought it and probably said it a billion times as a fan. The Purple Rain album was amazing, but just think of how incredible it would have been if it included the Time songs and the Apollonia songs also, and the Des Dickerson song. If those were on there too, and it was a complete soundtrack to the actual movie, how big would that have been? And
I was so hoping, yeah.
Now look at Graffiti Bridge and tell me he didn't deliver exactly that.
Absolutely. Right.
Yeah. I thought it was kind of a way of making up for the fact that you didn't have all the other artists that were involved in the movie on the actual soundtrack.
Yeah.
So,
You know what, Eric, but what I want to ask you is, because we're talking about the event that's going to be coming up August 22nd, 23rd, and 24th in Kentucky for Graffiti Bridge. And I'm not asking you to share anything that might be proprietary or anything that you have, but logistically, to put on these events, it can't be easy. I mean, there's a
No.
million moving
oh
parts.
my God.
Can you just take us a little bit through how you go through the process of starting and then ending? And you can keep it very broad, obviously, because we don't want to, impinge.
This is not a narrow scope, unfortunately. There's no way to make a Cliff Notes version of this. You have to have the venue. You have to have insurances. You have to have schedules. You have to have guests. You have to have ticket brokers. You have to have an idea. The idea has to be cohesive. It has to stick together. Now, once you get your guests, you have to pay your guests. These are entertainers. They do not work for free. If you ask them to come to your event for free, you are a horrible person. They are an artist. They deserve to be paid for their appearance. So you pay your entertainers. That's what they're there for. You have to arrange their flights. You have to pay for their flights. You have to make sure that from the time they step on that first plane to the time they get back home, they don't wait for anything. You wait for them. That's a logistical nightmare for one person. We are doing that this time for two people. Case in point, we had Ingrid's flights all taken care of from a small airport where she is to here, which is also just a small regional airport. Nightmare. A month after, she gets word that she has to be in a different location for some other work. So we have to completely change all the flights and change them from the new airport where she's going to be to here and back. These are all things that they are going to happen. It's not if it happens, it will happen. There is even down to something I just shared with you gentlemen a moment ago. At our party, this Graffiti Bridge party, there are going to be 7 different cocktails. I just left the hotel to join this podcast after mixing, curating, creating, and sampling 7 different cocktails because they had to match the songs. The flavor had to match the flavor of the song.
Mm-hmm.
And we had to try several different recipes. Well, it needs to be this way. It needs to be that way. So we had a mixologist, we had a bartender, we had me and some other people there taking notes and sampling these drinks and curating. So there are 7 cocktails that are curated specifically for this event for Graffiti Bridge. Mr.
And
David,
7.
7. And there's 7. It's all
Kurt,
in the details. If you want your party to shine, it's in the details. There are
Oh, yeah.
7 drinks.
can we share the names, or do you
You
prefer
can
we not?
absolutely share these drinks.
Okay. So, folks, if you're going to go to this event, and we hope that you do, the selections that you have are going to be Hippie Blood, Elephants and Flowers, Tick Tick Bang. I understand that one's packs quite a punch.
It's a
7
tick, tick,
Corners.
boom.
Tick Tick. What did I say? It's more Tick Tick Boom. Sorry.
It is tick tick
It's
bang.
Tick Tick
but
Bang. I was going to
but
say
it has a boom.
there is. Well, there is.
It packs a boom.
It packs a boom and the bang. Okay. We'll make sure I didn't screw that up for you. 7 Corners. I don't know. 7 is Seagram 7 involved in that. I don't know. Anyway, this is where my head goes since I work in wine and spirits. Bold Generation. The
that
Grand.
one is
Yeah, oof. And it's a bourbon cocktail, if I understand, if I remember correctly. The Grand Progression. Nice little nod. I like how you have some of these nods to tracks that never made the album. Oh, the Grand Progression, and then Kiss You in Paris.
That level of detail,
Yeah.
down
Yeah.
to the cocktails that you're going to be serving. I mean, it's really something. Which brings up my next question: your support staff, team that works with you, or is this mainly you, Eric?
my support staff is my wife,
Okay, the lovely Amber.
Miss Lulu Amber. She is the support staff. Now, here's the interesting twist on that. I have an incredibly strong woman who could, in my absence, could do all of this single-handedly. Hang on. Can you hear the train going by?
Oh yeah.
We live near a train. So she is quite a force to have on your side. But I'm also very detail driven. Like, it's in my head. I know what's here. So she is probably the best support system I could have because she allows me to spin into my tornado and handle this stuff. And she's there going, do you need anything? Do you need anything? So if anything kind of flies out of my tornado, she grabs it, throws it back in, and
Sure.
kind of keeps me moving. a lot of like the planning and coordinating and stuff is I do it, but it's almost like I know what I'm doing. So extra hands kind of don't help, if that makes sense.
It does, sure.
So it's not because she can't, it's because I kind of already know where I'm pushing and where I'm going, and it complicates it, kind of making room for someone else to do something. And then if I started delegating 3 or 4 different things, in the back of my mind, I'm one of those people, I will panic about those 3 or 4 things because I'm not the one touching them.
Yep.
So
Makes sense. Yeah.
So putting them together, yes, what she is basically my only support system. I have a couple friends that are always on standby to say, hey, if you need help, let me know. And since I've got a moment, I'm going to give a big shout out to Missy Norman White. She comes to all the events. She is basically a utility hand, everything we do. She's right there. She comes to our events in Minneapolis. She comes to all of our events in Kentucky, and she is basically just a utility person that says, I'm here. What do you need? And so she is absolutely irreplaceable. So thank you, Missy, publicly for everything you do, and her husband, Mario, that carts her all over the country to come help us. Beautiful, beautiful people. And like I said, Miss Lulu is just a force that can not only do this herself, but she also has to tolerate me while I'm going through it, because these are not easy to put together. There's a billion moving parts. And so we rented 3 ballrooms for 3 days, and it's not cheap. That's just the ballroom. That's not counting the auxiliary room that we're also going to be using. That's not counting the lapel mics, the cordless mics, the AV equipment that we have to have in there. All these things are details that have to be coordinated and done. And that's not counting the 7 different cocktails that have to be curated if they're going to be done correctly, having the numbers correct, having everything go so smoothly. Yeah, Miss Lulu is amazing in that she lets me go spin, and she's always right there saying, do you need anything? Nope, I've got this. I'm doing this. Have you thought about this? No, I haven't. Thank you. And then I just keep running. So she's there. And if there is a time where I come to her and I go, hey, I can't get this, can you grab this? She is on it. Like, enough said. I don't have to say it twice. So when you talk about a support staff, you can't have a better support staff than somebody who will allow you to spin in the mad tornado that you need to, and just be able to hand you things as you're running by. People like that are irreplaceable.
Irreplaceable. Right. Eric, before we let you go, can you just break down, obviously, we got the event coming up. We're all excited about that. Anything that you can share with us that's going to be coming up in the future with the Paisley Five and Dime, not necessarily events and things like that, but anything that you have going on that you'd like to tell the public about?
Well, we are actively working with the Minneapolis Sound Museum, and we are putting together some special things in Minneapolis. I was just up there this past week. We had several large meetings with very important people who are going to take us across the finish line on this. We are working with the Hennepin Arts. We are also working with a group called Demo out of Minneapolis, and they are developing new musical artists and diverse musical artists in the Minneapolis area. So this group called Demo does amazing work in all types of facets of the music industry in Minneapolis. We're working hand in hand with them. We're also working with Meet Minneapolis. That is a place downtown Minneapolis on 6th Street. I think it's 6th. Pretty sure it's 6th Street. But they are the location where the big cloud boot replica is in the window.
Yep.
Did you get to go see it when you were there?
No, I've only seen it in pictures.
That shop is called Meet Minneapolis, and we are working with them on doing an installment with them. And it will, if we get this put together, it will make some people cry. It's a very, very intense piece. So hopefully people will get to really understand the depth of that. And as far as like upcoming events, I'm looking at coming back and doing more Minneapolis events next year around Celebration, which I haven't done for a few years. And I've also got the next 2 events for 2026 planned here in Kentucky.
Okay. Do you ever have time to sleep?
I've heard of this. What's this thing?
What is this thing called sleep, right?
Just say that 1986 was an amazing year for Under the Cherry Moon, for the Parade soundtrack, and for Madhouse. So there's some very fun things being planned to really celebrate 1986.
You see what you did right there.
Love it.
Nice. Kurt?
We'll see.
Well, what can I say? This hour just breezes right by, Eric, and I know we're going to talk off the air a little bit, as we always do. But thanks for coming on. Thanks for sharing our events, folks. Again, a Graffiti Bridge 35th anniversary celebration. Can you tell us about the details about the venue that it's being held at as well?
Yes, the venue is called the Hilton Garden Suites in Georgetown, Kentucky. All the events are going to be at the hotel. There is only one event that is going to be off-site, and that is when we go to a historic theater, and we are actually going to be doing a screening of Graffiti Bridge.
Oh, cool.
And we have paid for the licensing. We have done everything across the board. It is licensing paid, and it will be on the big screen because a lot of people missed it on the big screen when it was out.
I saw it on the big screen. I remember.
Me too. Yep. It took my wife.
I was
Might have
lucky
been
enough
the
to
only
see it, but
person there. Yeah.
I was the only person there 4 of the times I went.
Yeah. Right.
So, but yes, that's quite all right. Well, I wasn't the only person there, but there were not other people besides me and the person I was with. We were the only people there.
There you go.
But yeah, it's going to be an amazing time. Like I said, if you're coming to the event, if you're a Prince collector, you need to come to the event just if you're a collector, because so many, the shopping that you're going to be able to do is incredible. We've got
15 different tables, folks.
15 tables with different sellers. I think there's 8 different sellers across 15 tables, anything and everything. It's going to be a plethora of everything Minneapolis music based that you can imagine. And the Minneapolis Sound Museum will be here signing people up.
Cool.
So, and then there's
as we get closer to the date, Eric, if we can have the names of some of those other vendors, we don't have to do that right now, but as we get closer to the event, we'd love to plug them too.
Absolutely.
Any of their socials and stuff like that, because they're obviously doing the, they're getting that down there. It's a huge expense to put all this together. All the logistics.
And for everyone who's watching this episode, we are going to be promoting this event up until the time that it actually happens.
Yep.
So you'll be seeing, we'll have the links posted, obviously, to the venue. We'll have the links posted for tickets. We'll have a lot of information, but we are also going to be showcasing details of the event from now right up until the time the event happens. So come to our Facebook page, come to Instagram, come to Blue Sky for all the great details and information. It's really our pleasure to partner with Eric Rogers and Paisley Five and Dime to help promote this event.
Also let your people know all the tier 1 tickets are gone. They're all sold out. There's only a few of the tier 2 tickets left. You better grab them now. And then after that are GA tickets. There will be, I think there's at least a dozen of those left. So you should be okay on GA. But if you want an elevated experience, and trust me, if you're a Prince fan, you want the elevated experience. Just trust me, you want that. There's only a couple of those left. Well, let me put it to you like this. The people that bought all the tier 1 tickets bought them before they even knew who the guest was. Tier 1 was sold out before we even announced the guest, because people know what I bring with these elevated experiences.
Right. There you go.
Right. And we're certainly going to do our part to bring that information to the masses through our own devices. So
absolutely.
And it takes a village to put this kind of thing together, folks. It's a grassroots campaign, no matter if you're putting on Paisley Five and Dime events, if you're an artist plugging music. As I always say at the end of every show, and this always rings true, especially for an event like this, a rising tide lifts all boats. Jay?
And I'd like to say once again, thanks to Eric Rogers and the Paisley Five and Dime. Do yourself a favor, attend that event for Graffiti Bridge 35th anniversary in Georgetown, Kentucky, August 22nd, 3rd, and 24th. And we are going to, again, be promoting a lot of this. We're going to post the links down below for the events. Folks, if you like what you see and hear, please remember to hit and smash that like and subscribe button so that we can continue to keep bringing you great content from great guests like Eric Rogers. And like I always like to say to close out every show, when the universe comes knocking, you have to answer that door. Peace.